a couple people. We have a couple people on the call from some great places. We got Maggie on the call. We'll talk about her in a second, from beautiful Boston. Great background. Um, and so this is another installment of what on a topic that we feel that's very, very, very important. And we have some special guests. Today's topic is is going to be my job internship got rescinded. Now what? And we know that that's a very common theme around the country right now, with not only student athletes or students, but industry professionals as well, right? People who had jobs are losing jobs, so we're trying to figure out what to do at this moment. Again, for those who are listening, this is our version of it. We're saying that this is what we think are important. I'm sure that there are other ways of doing things, but we want to give our student athletes an advantage. With us today, we have some special guests. Someone that I really admire the most, Mr. John Zirin, who is a Michigan alum, class of 1990, right? That makes him only like 21, 22 years old, right? But more importantly,
impossible. It's been that long. Doesn't seem possible.
But more importantly, for those who know the MACC and things that we've done, we had a career venture that we take student athletes to various industries and companies and states. One of its kind in athletics, and John Zirin is the helped us create and found that and fund that. So we want to definitely thank him, and we're excited to have him there. John is an executive vice president, elite staffing, so he brings tons and tons of experience and knowledge, and is definitely in this area. And then we have one of our Michigan greats, Maggie Batez. So we were super excited. She's the one in Boston, Michigan field hockey alum of 19, and she's currently relationship manager at the Bank of America. So, we thought that it was very important to have not only our experience in John Zirin, but also our newest young professional in Maggie. Both of them, again, will share their experiences throughout this presentation. If there are any questions, definitely use the notes or raise your hand or let us know. We'll stop. And throughout this presentation, we'll definitely ask Maggie and John to provide their, some updates or their comments in these areas. All right. So we're gonna get started. First thing is fast facts, right? What is important that you need to know? We're always looking at stats. We're always looking at data out there, and 4.4% of participating employers reported revoking offers made to new college graduates. Now that's difficult, right? Because we know that it's important for our students and student athletes to gain some type of experience. With their time being challenged, and them having two jobs, being a student and an athlete. For those who did the hard work and secured those internships, to hear this, it could be, devastating to them. 22% of participating employers indicate revoking offers made to summer interns, and that's across the board, different industries. We got our awesome Cody Riffle, who does our employee relations, and so he has done a phenomenal job at keeping his finger on the pulse of what industries are still hiring and why this is. And as states open up, as we're looking at the news, some of these opportunities will then change. We'll open up a little bit more for our students. 46% of participating employers reported moving their internships to virtual experiences, because that's the world we're in, right? We always talked about the handshake deal. Now, we have to change our mindset, and hopefully this presentation and our other webinars will help, our kids understand the importance of the virtual experience. There's a lot to be gained in this space. 41% of participating employers reported shortening the length of their internship program. Here in the MACC, we rely heavily on micro internships, right? Which means that they're not at the length of a traditional internship, but smaller. Here's a great time for our student athletes to not only get a smaller internship virtually, but can gain more experiences throughout this time. We know that, when they're the new normal, we're back into the new normal, and interviewing questions will be, what did you do during this time? What did you do during the COVID-19 period? And we want our student athletes at University of Michigan to say, you know what, not only did I network, but I had an opportunity to do something virtually, to grow and learn, which is important. I want to send this over, I kick this over to Julie. Definitely let her talk about, so now what?
Yeah, so your internship or your job has gotten rescinded. So now what do? First thing, take a deep breath. You've navigated the process before. You know, you applied for internships before. You've applied for jobs before, so you can do it again. But now it's time to shift your focus. You know, you have to kind of get your head back into the game, and before we're excited to start that internship or start that job or what our next steps looking like, and now you have to do a little bit of backtracking. But it's really giving you an opportunity to do a little, you know, do something a little bit different, maybe something you didn't do before, or injecting more energy into your search this time around. Typically we have more than one passion or passion point or passion area. So this is an opportunity too to explore more of your passions. So, you know, if you're interested in business, there's a lot of facets of business that you can get involved in. So maybe this is an opportunity, like Mo was alluding to, the micro internship opportunity. So maybe instead of doing one experience or having, you know, one internship or job this summer, you're able to delve into a few different projects or different micro internships as well to continue to grow your skill set in a variety of different areas. Do your research, you know, figure out what companies and what positions you're interested in a little bit more. So again, now that you're not practicing your sport, now that maybe you're done with classes or just taking one spring class, you have a little bit more time to invest in your search. And research is one of the most important parts of the process because it's helping you understand positions, companies, and people, so you're able to make the best informed decision for yourself moving forward. Understanding industries. So like Mo talked about, Cody has the pulse to industry professionals and what's going on. And so if you're researching and looking within industries or what industries are hiring or looking for new talent, you want to be critical of that right now. So for example, probably not looking for opportunities or searching the airline industry, right? Because that's an industry that's not doing so well at this current point, but maybe shifting energy more to, you know, platforms like Zoom is doing well, more project management based roles, even like meal delivery services or Peloton. People are really into exercising. Peloton sales last quarter increased 66%. So kind of going back to doing your research and seeing what companies and what industries are doing well, so you're able to understand where the opportunities lie. And then leverage your student athlete skill set. You're all resilient, you've overcome challenges, you've overcome obstacles before. This is just a little speed bump or road bump along the way. And again, you can overcome this, and we're here to help and support you going through this process. I just wanted to just toss it to Maggie and John on any thoughts in this area as to, okay, something that I worked really hard for has gotten taken away from me. How do I process that or look to reflect back on that and to move past that?
John, do you want to go first?
John, I think you might actually be muted.
Yeah, it got muted. The people that know me know that I'm a pretty positive guy. So the first thing I want to say is there's an endpoint to this, right? So although the focus right now is on COVID, it's on what's happening because of COVID. You have to be very aware of the long road ahead of you, and not get sidetracked by this. I think personally, and I've always said this, the most important thing that anybody can do in a job search is to make sure they're following up. I cannot tell you how many times there's been someone I've spoken to, and it's one phone call and I never hear from them again. I think it's so important that if you've had this internship set up, and if it did get canceled, that you must stay in touch with this person who was the internship coordinator in some form or fashion, whether it's an email, whether it's a phone call, or a combination of things. Stay in touch with them, because these are important people on your path, and there's going to be a connection to them because of what happened. So don't lose sight of that. I think that's really super, super important, that you not get caught up in this ended and, you know, that's the end of it. So that's the first thought I have about it. And I really do think that that's important. And as Julie said, the research piece and exploring your passions, two very important pieces also. I started off in a career completely different from where I ended up in now. But it was 100% because of something I was super passionate about, and I did everything possible to stay on that path. So for those of you who are athletes, obviously the commitment to your sport is incredible. And I know that the people that are participating in this call, that it's important to them enough that they're on the call. And so stay focused on it. Don't lose sight of what's ahead. And your research is going to be important. Find an article about one of these companies, make that a talking point with the person that your internship was going to be with. Don't give up on it. Think about virtual internships. I know a lot of these companies are doing virtual internships, and so maybe the one you had got pushed aside, but ask about it. That's a great talking point. Is there anything virtually I could do during this time that we're out? So that's a couple quick things for me based on these first few slides.
Yeah, and I think going off of that, that's awesome insight from John, just saying that as athletes, I think of it as we're used to the delayed gratification, right? So we're used to training for the entire year for our competition season, which might last 3 or 4 months. And what I would consider this time, it's unprecedented for every single industry. There's literally no company, individual, organization that isn't affected in some way. So I think now's a really good time. If your plans have changed, take this as a time to continue to learn, because everyone, like they've all said, people are remembering this time, and the best prospective employees, the best prospective workers for companies are going to come out better. So it's about doing the work now for that delayed gratification. At the end of COVID, you're going to have so many doors open because you maintained those relationships, because you didn't lie down and let this beat you, but you're resilient and push through. So I really like the idea of continuing to gain knowledge and maintain relationships. I think that's really important right now.
Thank you both.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate again, the follow-up piece in the staying in touch is vital. You are not moving forward with any of these people if you let go of that. Like I said, throughout my career, it's persistence. And I always say it's a very fine line between being persistent and being annoying, right? So you want to make sure you stay on the persistent side and not overwhelm somebody. If you're gonna send an email or leave a voice message or try and get in touch with someone, make sure that it has some value to it. And it's not, just, hey, I was just thinking about the company and the internship. Find something to talk about, something that makes it important and allows you to stay in touch with them. Follow up. Don't lose hold of that contact.
Awesome. Good advice. And so too, this is a time where everybody is being a little bit more creative, right? Whether that's trying to figure out how to do things virtually or finding opportunities to gain experience. As student athletes, spring and summer, that's your time that is less hectic than the year, right? And so you dedicate a lot of your spring and summer to gaining experience in your area of interest or area of study. And so let's not just close the door on that. Let's get a little bit more creative in our approach. And like John talked about earlier, if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. So if your internship got rescinded, ask if remote work is possible, or ask if there's some capacity of that opportunity to go virtually. And so being able to articulate those questions to people and putting yourself out there to ask, again, the worst that person could say is no, or the worst that they could, or instead of no, they could just not respond. But again, everybody has heard no before. We've all overcome that. And so putting yourself out there to see if that's a possibility, just so you know that you attempted to make an effort in that way. Project-based work. Maybe they don't have the capacity to host you for a lengthy internship, but maybe they have a project you could work on. So maybe approaching it in a way of, hey, John, I know that with the state of the company and the internship program right now, we're not able to move forward with this opportunity. I just wanted to reach out to let you know if you needed any help on any specific projects, I'd be willing to assist your company in that, in that effort or in that way. So that shows two things too, the internship might have been canceled or shortened, but you're thinking optimistically and positively, and you have that vested interest in that person you've connected with and their company. So you're not just saying, thanks for the opportunity, but, it's over. But okay, this is what's happened. And, I just want to think around ways we can still either work together or that I can help you out. So that'll show the employer, the recruiter, that company, a lot about your character as well. So for prospective opportunities and prospective roles that you could be applying for, that could be critical. See if they're open to letting you observe a meeting or sit in on a meeting. One thing I had been working on with a student athlete who just became an education major, she's been having one-on-one meetings with teachers and talking about how they're working remotely with their classrooms and what's been going on differently, and how they've been engaging students that might have issues with technology or delayed learning styles. And so there's different ways and creative ways to get involved and to still be connected to your industry, an industry you're interested in, or company. So again, just thinking outside the box a little bit. Maybe there's a passion project you haven't had a chance to start. This could be that great opportunity or great time to do that as well, but building experience and building your resume and understanding what that entails or what that takes on. And then, like John said earlier too, being unique in your approach. So maybe you did some research and you found an article or you found something that could be of help to somebody during this time. That's a great conversation starter too. You want that value add in that correspondence, and make sure that there's something action oriented going, so then you can continue a conversation and it's not just a dead end. So you're able to, have that dialogue, continue conversation, and maybe working together to find a way to be creative and to find an opportunity. And then just a question to think about: what can you do now that your future self will thank you for? So again, it's the work, like Maggie said earlier, the work that you're putting in now will pay dividends moving forward. So, just because we are dealing with this pandemic and, this challenging time in these circumstances, utilize this opportunity to be creative, think outside the box, and continue to build your experiences and skill set. I want to ask John and Maggie as well, if somebody or a student or student athlete were to approach you with any of these questions or ideas or thoughts, what would, in your opinion, what would be that best way to approach that? And as an employer or somebody who may be offering to observe a meeting or something, what do you look for in that correspondence?
Maggie, you want to go ahead?
I can go. Yeah, of course. So I think something that's really important to keep in mind when you're reaching out during this time is to show empathy for what the company may be going through, because like I said, everyone's affected in different ways. So if you come at it from a stance of, hey, I really appreciate your time. I'm continuing to improve myself during this time as well. And I'm really curious if you have any articles or books that you could point me to, or if you have time, I'd love to get connected for a quick phone call just to hear kind of how it's affecting you during this time personally. But I think the empathy piece is really important, because if you come at it from an angle of more, what can I get out of this for me, you might get a little bit of a negative, not even intentionally, but a negative experience, I guess. So I would emphasize that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, Maggie. The one thing that I've been thinking about throughout this whole process is, you obviously, if you received an offer for an internship, there was something that the employer saw in you, right? Something that they were excited about. They wanted you to have this opportunity. And I think it's going to be important on a going forward basis that when you reconnect with these people, that you have some story to tell about what you're doing now during this time to better yourself, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that could be, some of the things we've talked about. The passion project, I think, is a great idea from Julie on this slide that we're looking at, and being unique. But the question's going to get asked. I know I would ask the question, well, what did you do during the summer? Right. If you ask my high school, almost, rising sophomore, almost junior, what has he done? His answer is going to be, I sat on Xbox and played Madden, 8 hours a day, and I get it on my Microsoft Live email once a week. Hey, it's great. He's connecting with his friends. He's talking to them. But I don't want that to be what's on your response to a potential employer was, stuff like that. Or, hey, I binged Netflix, I finished Ozark, there's got to be a good answer as to what you were doing. I mean, it could be online classes, in your field. It could be volunteer work. I was reading some articles earlier, I see a lot of stuff just because of our staffing industry. Somebody had an internship that got canceled, and they, were interested in social media. And it was a social media internship. And so they said, they took a look at somebody's chat bot on their site. Here's some ideas we think that should be better, or redesign a website, just some website ideas. Just come to somebody with some type of project that's creative. This slide is let's get creative. So I think that's really super important.
Now I'm going to kick it over to Cody to talk about utilizing this time to network and build your network.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. And really to what John was saying, he kind of stole the words right out of my mouth. And some of the conversations I've been having with employers, they've specifically told me one thing to remind your students: a few months from now, we're going to be asking, what are some of the things you did during the summer? And I was like, that's important, because even though this is a hard time for companies and individuals, it's also a time for opportunity. And one of the things that we're always talking about is the foundation of really your career development is your ability to network, to discover opportunity, to build new relationships. One of the major things that I think is interesting as well, which actually goes back to the statistics Marie shared with us earlier. On that same survey, the companies that were asked also reported that 83% of them were open to changing their existing internship programs for new ideas that would better suit the needs that the economy and people are facing. And that's interesting to me because really where that's coming from is suggestions from people who are looking for opportunity, and from the conversations that they're having to say, hey, this isn't currently working for us. How is something we can still benefit from working with you and also providing career experience? So when you're thinking about that companies are trying new things, even traditional companies like Ford just mentioned today that they're switching all of their in-person internships to virtual. That's almost 600 internships across the country. So that's something you're seeing these Fortune 100 companies are even following suit. So it's actually pretty exciting. But one of the things that I would encourage, and that you've probably heard us talk about pretty consistently across the board, is really your ability to network. And as you've heard John talk about a few times, the follow-up is probably the most important thing in the world. And I'll reiterate that point. And one thing about John, as I'm sure he'll mention too, is a lot of students will reach out to him, and that's something that we encourage, because who knows better than industry than someone who's doing it on a day-to-day basis. So some of the different ways that we're helping student athletes and encouraging student athletes that we work with is to really do a few things. One of the things that's easily accessible is to create your LinkedIn and Wolverine Network profiles. So you've probably seen this on quite a bit of our literature and some of our different webinars and such. But if you're not familiar, the Wolverine Network is our program we've put together. It's a platform utilized. It's essentially LinkedIn for Michigan athletics, where industry professionals and mentors like John, Maggie, and a host of other people are going to be available to talk and mentor and receive questions as well. So one of the major things that we're seeing grow at an exponential rate month to month, and that's something we're excited to continue to see because it seems to be taking wing. But on the point of networking with different people, connecting is important, but it's really the quality of it versus the quantity. You're going to hear a lot of people say, connect with everyone you can imagine. And that might be true, but you only have so much time in the day. You only have so much energy as well. So making sure that you're doing a bit of your due diligence and research to make sure that the people you're reaching out to and starting these conversations with are people that, one, you think you can learn from, that might be into and open to mentoring you in some capacity or providing you experience or opportunity. And that's something that I think gets lost, especially with current student athletes. And I'll actually want to ask John and Maggie this here shortly as we cover some of these points. But being assertive and taking the initiative. I know one of the main things I hear when I'm talking with student athletes is, what do I say? You know, what do I say when I want to reach out to someone? Okay, I found the person I want to reach out to. I have an interest, I have questions. I'm not really sure how to approach this person. You know, they have all kinds of experience. I'm not really sure what I'm talking about. Am I going to sound dumb? Some of these different things that we hear on a common basis. But once you kind of have that interest, it's important to start to develop a routine. So setting goals for yourself, scheduling 1 or 2 of these calls per week. We actually have a document that we've created called our job journal, essentially. So you're going to have your opportunities and your contacts, your most recent conversations and things like that. And that's something we encourage our student athletes to continue to use because, as you'd imagine, if you have, you know, a few conversations each week, that starts to build up. And when you have those conversations on a day-to-day, you start to lose track of some of the details. So having that journal and having something that you can log conversations and keep up to date with the current happenings of that relationship is essential as well. And then one other thing that I think gets lost a lot that's good to remind is offer your assistance. You may not actually think that you have anything to offer to someone, but you really don't know. Reciprocation is really important. You never know how you can help. I always say, you know, maybe you're reaching out to the vice president of a staffing company, something you really want to understand and learn more about and connect with this individual. And you say, you know, please let me know however I can assist you with anything you're interested in. You never know. Their son may be interested in playing college field hockey, or their daughter may be interested in playing college field hockey and is looking for a few tips. Something that you can provide value that you have expertise in. So now there's kind of a mutual relationship there. So you never really know until you ask, but that's very powerful. So I did want to ask John and Maggie both, because I think they both may have different experiences in this, but John, on the receiving end, how do you feel when students reach out for advice? Kind of as I mentioned before, students are a little intimidated for the first time they do it, but I think if they heard, you know, really how your experience is when you receive that invitation to talk and what it really looks like on the receiving end of those invitations. And then Maggie, I'd like to know how your perception may have changed from a student athlete to a recent alumni.
Yeah, I'll jump in first. I love it. I mean, I love when I get an email or a call. I always make time for it. It's never a burden for me. And I think with most people, it's very, people should not be nervous about making that call, because nowadays it's very easy to, unfortunately, to ignore a call, right? An email. You know, everyone's getting a ton of emails. And if someone doesn't want to talk to you, they're just not going to respond, right? So you shouldn't be scared to take that first step. I will always make time. I don't know if that's standard for most people or not, but I love it. Number one, I love hearing the stories about what the kids are doing, the student athletes, what their passions are, what they're looking for. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, there's more to the calls than others. Sometimes there's more of a connection than others, but I don't think anyone should ever be nervous. At least in this group that's on here today, I would take a call from every single person and make the time just to see what's going on in their world and what they're interested in. And honestly, I'm not going to be able to help most of the people in terms of finding a job, but I really do feel like most times I'm going to be able to help with some advice. And that's probably the best thing, and hopefully what most people are looking for. And again, it is amazing the difference in how everybody approaches it. Like Cody said, some of the people are very, very nervous. It probably plays along with people's personalities and how they are in real life. And but people should not be nervous to reach out. Just have a plan with what you want to talk about, 1 or 2 questions, you know. That's it. You know, tell me, you know, if someone says to me, tell me about how you got to where you're at. How did you figure out what you wanted to do? That's always a starter. Everybody has a story, right? Everyone has a story about how they got to their job.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. I mean, I think thinking back to me when I was a senior at Michigan, it was only like whatever year ago, but I'd also encourage you when you're making those introductions. What I did, at least, I went on LinkedIn and I would search for a company I'd be interested in, for example, and then I would look for someone at that company that went to Michigan. Boom, that's an easy introduction to make. And then when you connect with them, you can say, hey, I'm Maggie Betez, super excited to see that you're a Michigan alum. If you have time, I'd love to get connected for a quick phone call and just ask you about your path to where you are. Boom, done. And like John said, if they don't want to talk to you, they won't reply. And that's totally fine. Like then for every email you send, every contact you make, a smaller portion will respond, and then an even smaller portion will talk to you. But every single connection you make, you get better at it and you improve. So don't be afraid. You only need one yes to get a job. You can get 300 no's. It really doesn't matter. So every like interaction and time with people is just building your network, and it'll really teach you a lot. I think a lot of the phone calls that I made didn't come to anything more than a phone call, but it's a new relationship and just the more you know type of thing. So I would compare it to when we were getting recruited to go to Michigan. There's schools that you were reaching for, there's schools that you were learning from, I guess. So just think of it as a journey, but it's super, super important to get yourself out there, because the more personal you can make it, I think the better.
Awesome. So one of the great things about that is that really growing professional network and learning how to have these types of conversations is kind of a universal skill that you can apply to everything. It's a skill that transcends different resources, but at the end of the day, it's something that you can continue to use from platform to platform. And here are some of the main ones that we really encourage student athletes to use, and the ones that we commonly will put on any type of our marketing or anything else. But Parker Dewey, if you're not familiar, is a company and a platform that hosts a variety of different micro internships and projects, short-term based opportunities that you can get paid for. So we work pretty closely with their team, but something about them too that's pretty interesting is it's something that you can have a variety of different career experiences in a short period of time. So it's one of those things where you can set yourself up for a long-term career by some of the shorter work you're doing now. Handshake and LinkedIn, obviously, these are two that are pretty common across higher education as well as at University of Michigan. But two great things about those, both of them have a pretty intensive job board. So if you're going to look on that, you can find a variety of different opportunities across the country at a varying range of experience levels. But one of the things that I really like about both of them that they share is that they have a unique ability to list the people that are searching. So the people that are really the key decision makers in some of these opportunities that are being listed. So, and kind of what Maggie was saying, you can do research on a company that has a listing on one of these sites, and you're actually able to find the people that are doing the research, which you can then reach out, initiate this conversation, kind of as we mentioned before, learning a bit more about the opportunity, letting them know you sent an application, nothing more than that. And you'll find more often than not, that little bit of effort you take is going to set yourself apart than a lot of the other candidates that are going to be listed. Other opportunities are sites like the Muse. ONET Online is another major one. So there's a variety of different sites you can use, and really none is better than the other. I mean, kind of as Maggie said, it only takes one yes to get a job, just finding a way to finding the one that's going to fit you best and that's going to work with you. But the one that I think is often overlooked as well is your hidden job market. So what we mean by that is your friends and family who may be connected to people or aware of opportunities that you didn't know about. So when you're talking with some of the people you know about your current efforts to look into different careers, or, hey, here's where I am on some different interviews, they may say, hey, my buddy who is in this position is actually looking for someone who's doing that exactly. Why don't I connect you with him and see if that works? So that's something that we always encourage too. As you're having these conversations and doing your due diligence in your own career search, look to those around you. you know, you're really, most people are unaware of the opportunity that's around them at all the times. And that's something that we always say, one, it helps you grow your professional network with those who probably know you best. But two, it's a way to get involved in something that, you know, people you know and respect will be able to vouch for you. So some of the different ways as well. I don't know did anybody else have any ideas for different resources that maybe they found most valuable? Could be John or Maggie or even Maurice or Julie on this.
I actually have something to say.
Julia, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Julia. Hi, Maggie and John. I'm the SAC representative with MACC, so I work with them throughout the year. But I want to bring up a couple points. One, kind of to like my fellow peers, I guess. One thing that I've noticed, I especially went through it, was that I had an internship with the New York Mets, and I was kind of waiting to hear. I was in this limbo stage, and I think that really didn't help me in a way because I was waiting for it to come back when essentially I could have been networking during that time. So one piece of advice is to go out and network, even if you're waiting on your internship to either, you know, continue or get canceled or go virtual. You have that time period where you can, you know, network and leverage your connections. And then another thing, I've been working with the Wolverine Network, and I've actually connected with people, which is pretty easily on there with their messaging system. And then I actually have a question for John more so, and it would be, what advice do you have for, you know, new young professional going into this new post-corona kind of recession job market? I mean, I feel you've been through the 2008 recession, so I don't know. I think I was really young when that happened. So I'm just wondering, what advice do you have for someone who might be going into that market, and if there's a way to navigate that without kind of hitting too many speed bumps?
Yeah. Thank you for making me feel really old. It was bad enough when Maurice put up there, you know, graduated in 1990. Doesn't seem possible.
That's all love,
you know,
John. That's all love.
Listen, there's gonna be road bumps. You know, there's no way around that. This is unlike anything before. You know, this is different than 2008. 2008 impact was, you know, kind of based on the financial markets and real estate, and now we're talking every sector of the economy. So I don't think anybody's going to end up not being touched by this in some form. But as I said earlier, there's an end to it, right, at some point. So positivity, positive mental attitude, I'm such a huge believer in that. You know, I've been saying since I got my first job, I had a piece of paper on the wall that someone told me that said, you know, it's the climb that makes the views so exhilarating. And then the other one was, there's no elevators to the top, right? So you got to make that climb, and no one's handing anything out. It's not going to be easy. This complicates it. From a job standpoint, look, if you're fortunate enough that you can take a job that may be not paying as much, you know, when you're ready to jump in that job market, or you can take an internship that's a non-paying internship, take it, right? If you're fortunate enough to be able to do that. I don't want to put myself in anyone's position from a financial standpoint. And not everybody is as fortunate with that, but it's all about getting your foot in the door, right? That first job. And Maurice knows it, and Julie knows it. And when we had our career venture in Chicago last year, one of the things that one of our mentors said, who's and also U of M alum, her name is Julie Novak, and she's a real great woman-owned business entrepreneur. She started a company called Party Slate. Look it up, partyslate.com. It's an amazing website. But she said in her presentation, ask people how many of them are in the first job they ever had, right? and almost nobody is in their first job, that have been in the job world for a little bit of time. I know I'm certainly not. I'm on, like incarnation number 3, or 4 even, I don't even remember. But so don't be scared of that first step, right? It may not be exactly what you're looking for, but you're gonna step off, dip your toe in the water a little bit, and then go from there. So keep that in mind. This economy is going to be very different, but it is going to recover. It is going to come back. Our business, so just quickly, we're in the temporary staffing business, our company, and we primarily do manufacturing staffing. So we do lower wage jobs that are super high volume. So we have clients that are assembly line companies, food manufacturing, automotive manufacturing. We staff every recycling center that Waste Management has in the country. And yes, we slowed down, but did we stop? No, we did not stop. Is our business down? Yes. Is it starting to come back a little bit? Yeah, bit by bit. We're all over the country. It's going to be different everywhere. Every region's different. I think, I don't know where everybody is on this call, but I know Carlos is in Miami enjoying the sun while we're stuck in the Midwest. But I'm sure Maggie can tell you it's different in Boston. We're in Chicago. It's different here. But it's going to come back. So it's something that you learn as athletes to stay positive and to keep fighting and to never give up. And, that's the best advice I can give. Be persistent, right? Be persistent. Follow up. Don't give up. I don't know if I answered that, Julie, or not.
That was a good answer. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that, John. Yeah, and that's something too, I think, kind of as John's mentioning, being creative, being persistent, that's something that may take many forms. Increasing your value. And that's something I want to kick this over to Julie, talk a little bit more about some of the ways you can make yourself a little more qualified for things that maybe you're pursuing, around the realms of volunteering and certifications and things like that.
Yeah, so if, into the internship process or, your job search is part of your time, you still have some other time to invest in other areas. So again, don't box yourself in. Think about what else you can do. So one is a great way is to volunteer. So you can give back to local communities, doing so from a virtual standpoint as well. So making sure you're taking the time to give back to other people during this time, especially if one of your passion points is community engagement and community service, making sure you're filling your cup there during this time. Take an online course. So if there's something you weren't able to take at Michigan or wish you could learn or build your skill set on, take an online class through Coursera, edX, Udemy. There's a lot of great colleges and universities who offer online courses, and most are free of charge. So take a look at those. Again, if maybe you are an industrial engineering major, but and you're not able to add on a business minor due to course load. Maybe, and you're looking to open your own business one day. Maybe you start looking into some business courses, so you're adding to your skill set and educating your future self on what you want to do more in the long term. If grad school is in the cards for you, take some time. Start studying for the GRE, the GMAT, the LSAT, the MCAT, the PCAT. So making sure you're, again, utilizing this time and making sure it's valuable to you in the long run. I know it's sometimes harder to see that, if you're a sophomore or junior, you're thinking you still have time, but making sure you're taking the time now to keep busy too, right? As student athletes, you're used to having your schedule, set to the minute. And right now you have a little bit more freedom in that schedule. So build in some things that are making you better, increasing your value, but keeping you going at the same time. We've talked a lot about enhancing your skill set. That goes into obtaining a certification. Reach out and look into the Microsoft Office certifications. We hear a lot of student athletes interested in getting better at Microsoft Excel. Use this time to improve your Microsoft Excel skills, whether that's watching a 20 or 25-minute even YouTube video on that, or building your skill set that way, and then maybe eventually sitting for one of those certifications. Something else that's really important, personal and professional development. Again, investing in yourself, whether that's picking up a great professional or personal development book, taking some time for yourself, connecting with people. We talked a lot about networking, but making sure you're not just watching Ozark on Netflix, like John was alluding to. Heard great things though, but making sure you're, again, adding more values for yourself. And then playing catch up. Again, as a student athlete, during the year, you're sitting next to somebody, you're right, and somebody to your left who could do an internship anytime throughout the year, right? And so summer could be a great time for you to play catch up on building connections or building your network or researching opportunities, having a better understanding or idea of jobs or internships you want to pursue in the future, or companies you'd love to work for, what a company culture is like, or if you would fit there. So you're able to maybe create more of a strategy and schedule based on, if we're able to have employers on campus in the fall or in the spring, having a game plan set for future interactions with people as well. So again, making sure you're taking time to play catch up during this opportunity too. Building your resume, if you haven't had your resume looked at by one of us, making sure that's spot on and ready to go for send out. If you're building connections with people and they say, hey, Cody, before we talk, can you send me your resume so I have a better understanding of who you are? Make sure that's ready to go. You don't have to take time to build that then. Making a cover letter. These are other things that you don't always have time to do during the year, but getting a great cover letter built now could help your future self as well. John, Maggie, any suggestions on other areas that student athletes could be tapping into right now or doing to build their skill set?
Quickly, one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot is, how business is changing. So when you talk about enhancing your skill set or, professional and personal development, I think a great thing to do is take a little time and think about what's changed in how you're buying things, how you're shopping, how you're living. And maybe there's something there that you can think might have more importance in the future. Offhand, it's crazy, but I have a daughter who's in 8th grade, and she's probably on. If I hear one more TikTok story at dinner time, I might lose it. A TikTok or a YouTuber story, it's driving me crazy. But guess what? Think how massive those things have become during this time because everybody's sitting around on their social media at home. So what other things are, becoming more popular and more important? What things can you think about? I saw something, I saw TikTok's looking for interns, it's crazy. I guarantee you, if you search internships and, you put in remote internships, you're going to find a lot of new technology internships. So I guess my thought process is take an hour a day and think through some things and just brainstorm some ideas of maybe some industries or something that you would never have thought of that you're using now. Maybe, maybe I'm a little behind the times, but we didn't do a lot of DoorDash, previously. Now it's 3-4 times a week, right? So just things like that. I think just a lot of brainstorming is a really good idea.
We do have a question in the chat as well from Aaron. Do you recommend any specific learning platforms for Excel, Photoshop, etc.? I've seen some videos on YouTube, but are there other good places to look? Yeah, some of the ones that Julie has mentioned. I know Udemy has a. It's not free. It's pretty cheap. It's a pretty extensive course on all the Adobe Creative Suite essentials. I think it's like $15, but it's a lifetime access type of thing, and it'll give you tutorials and how to utilize some of the software. Another one that's pretty strong is it used to be lynda.com, but now it's LinkedIn Learning. So I think with a U of M account, you're able to actually access some of those videos. I'll have to double check on that for students. But also we have a platform that we purchased earlier this year, or not a platform, but a library of different videos called Candid Careers. So a lot of that is going to be different types of opportunities, what goes into being a financial advisor. But they also talk about some of the technical skills, and maybe some of the resources that they suggest for some of those skills as well. So we can share that. I know Maurice has a link that we can send out to those interested in checking out some of those videos, and we've been embedding them in some of our communications as well. But were there other ones you guys thought of that might be good platforms to learn from some of these things?
The ones you mentioned for Excel specifically, Cody, are the best ones out there, additionally to LinkedIn Learning. But yeah, I think what's great about them too is the progression. So you can start off basic and continue to build your skill set and work on projects through these online courses, and then leading it up to a certification as well. So I think the progression really helps you, so you continue to build upon what you've previously learned. But yes, definitely something, and you'll see employers looking for that now more so than ever, as well as the advanced Excel skill. And we'll talk a lot with student athletes when building resumes, and we're talking about Microsoft Office, and we have that, they're like, Word and Excel and PowerPoint, and we always go back to how advanced are you with Microsoft Excel?
Yeah.
So making sure so staying true to your proficiency level as well. And this is a good time to continue to enhance that.
We'll be doing different ones throughout the year as well. I know we have a workshop planned for later this year with an employer who's going to be well versed in that technology. So I think a lot of our plans are going to be to record and have it be available like this on a YouTube account. So we're going to try and create our own content as well with that. But yeah, feel free to reach out to us with questions that we can do a little bit more digging on your specific interest and see what we can locate and provide for you as well.
And then we talked about it a lot during this presentation, but again, just that time to reflect. What have you done during quarantine or during this pandemic to get better or improve yourself? And so this is something that we can, we're anticipating not only, being able to answer, but being a future interview question, right? This is telling a lot about who you are, your character, and the type of employee or intern that you'd be for a company. So make sure that, the way that you're answering this isn't just going to be watching TikTok videos, but maybe, familiarize with TikTok and did research and looked into the platform and, be able to dive in a little bit more from a business standpoint as well. But definitely take time to think and reflect on this question. And then any final questions or thoughts, advice from John, Maggie, Mo?
Well, I'll go last. I'll let John finish as I think Maggie had to log off. But John, any final thoughts?
No, look, this is uncharted water for everybody. So I think, as I said before, I'm a positive thinker. So keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. There's an end in sight, and you have this amazing advantage that you have all these resources to help you. So when things are returning to normal, whether it's in the fall and you're back in Ann Arbor, or a month later than that, that you're ready to go and you didn't waste the time. I think that's a really, really important piece of this is the fact that you're here and you're listening is impressive. And you have such great resources in this crew from the MACC, so don't let them sit by wasting their time, which I know they're not doing, but they're here to help you guys. So take advantage of it. And they can get you my info, or you guys can find me on LinkedIn also if you want to shoot me an email, and happy to talk to you as well.
So again, we want to thank everybody for joining, and definitely our special guests, John and Maggie, for providing some great insight. I really work with some amazing people here. We got Julie, our assistant director. We got Cody, does employee relations. Joe, I think Joe Marullo was on the call. So Joe really is like the glue. It keeps it all together for us, making sure that we're on pace and on task. And then Matt Lasker, who is a recent graduate, captain on the men's gymnastics team, who does our graphics and social media and things like that. So great team. We were talking today during our staff meeting about being happy, right? And it's real easy to focus on what you do not have or what was removed from you. But a session like this really talks about what you do have, right? You do have the ability to be creative. You do have the resources that no other university, definitely athletics in the country has, right? You do have skills, as Julie mentioned, that employers and companies are thriving, are searching for as a student, not because you bring so much to the table. You do have alumni base, as in John and Maggie, that's willing to give back time, talent, and or treasure for John's case. So you have a lot. Instead of think about what you lost, think about what you do have. All we're asking now is, as Julia said, our amazing SAC rep, is don't wait, right? Now is the time to take action. Now is the time to grow your social capital, grow your network. Because when we get to that new normal, believe me, companies open up, they're gonna receive tons of applications. And they don't have time to go through all those things. But if you have made yourself known, if you are the known candidate because you have stayed in contact with them during this time, that's when and how you're gonna be successful. Again, reach out to us. We're here for you literally 7 days a week. The work day has shifted. You know, I got Julian in North Carolina on the East Coast. Cody is in Ohio. I'm in Michigan. Joe is in Boston, and Mac is in New York. I'm telling you, we're all over the place, and we're there to help you now. Mac, I'm sorry, Mac, he just had snow, but sorry about that, Mac. But my point is, we're all over, and we're still here together because we're going to do it together. We're going to make sure that our student athletes have what they need. We're going to harness those skills and bring out all those talents that you have. And again, this is just one installment of many. You know, if you missed any of the others, we encourage you to go look at our YouTube channel that lists all of our webinars, and look forward to the next installment. And we're excited. So if there's nothing else for the team.
I just have one last thing. Cody is sending out weekly emails that have new opportunities, like either in the past 24 hours or within the past week. So check every Thursday. So check tomorrow for Cody's latest email with new opportunities. That's something you don't want to miss. Again, we're here to help you and support you in that process. So don't be afraid to reach out to us either. So.
Again, John, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out your busy schedule.
Pleasure.
And students that are on the call, look forward to next year's edition of the John Team 3 career venture. John and Lisa, we would definitely want to thank you, for being a great advocate of our program, and its alum and mentors and advisors such as yourself that allow us to do what we do every day. So definitely pass along to the family. The MACC said hello.
Yes, give them our best.
Yeah, I will. And then thank you guys for everything that you guys are doing up there. It's amazing to be part of. And of course, go blue.
Go blue.
Always go blue. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.